Welcome to Dreamtale Sleep Stories. Tonight's reading is The Last Train. Settle into your bed or sofa and let your shoulders, jaw, and eyelids grow heavy. Inhale slowly, 1, 2, 3, and sigh the air away, allowing the day to fade into quiet dark. With every soft inhale, you invite fresh English phrases. With every gentle exhale, stray thoughts drift farther off. Behind my voice flows a gentle theta wave melody, renowned for guiding the mind toward deep relaxation. Soon the music will shift into soothing alpha wave tones, carrying you toward a calm shoreline of dreams. Keep your eyes closed or follow the captions, whichever feels right. Simply receive the rhythm and resonance of the language. Deep in rest, tonight's phrases will take root like seeds, ready to bloom into stronger English skills with the morning light. When you feel settled, hold that unhurried breath and allow yourself to drift into the tale. The last train begins now, and when the story's final line has faded, the music will linger a little longer, carrying you gently deeper into sleep. The Last Train. Ethan Mitchell glanced at his watch and cursed under his breath. It was 11:58 p.m., and the last train was scheduled to depart at midnight. He had 2 minutes to make it to the platform, or he would be stranded downtown until morning. He sprinted through the nearly empty station, his footsteps echoing in the cavernous space. The day had been a disaster from start to finish. First, he had overslept and missed an important meeting. Then, his computer had crashed, erasing the report he had spent hours preparing. And now, he was about to miss the last train home. As he rounded the corner to platform 7, he saw the train's doors beginning to close. With a final burst of energy, Ethan lunged forward, squeezing through the narrowing gap just as the doors slid shut behind him. Breathing heavily, he leaned against the door and closed his eyes in relief. When he opened them again, he was surprised to find the car completely empty. Usually, even the late trains had a few passengers: night shift workers, students, or partygoers returning home. That was close, he muttered to himself, making his way to a seat. The train pulled away from the station, its gentle rocking motion soothing his frayed nerves. Ethan settled into his seat and checked his phone. No signal. That was strange. The subway system had installed cellular service years ago. He looked out the window as the train entered a tunnel, watching the darkness, interrupted by occasional maintenance lights. After a few minutes, Ethan realized something else was odd. The train wasn't making its usual announcements, and he couldn't remember the last time it had stopped at a station. His normal journey home included 7 stops, and at least 3 should have passed by now. He stood up and walked to the electronic map display above the doors, but it was dark. A chill ran down his spine as he noticed other unusual details. The advertisements on the walls were for products he'd never heard of, and the upholstery on the seats was a different pattern than he remembered. Ethan made his way to the front of the car, intending to pass through to the next one to find a conductor. But when he tried the door, it wouldn't budge. The same was true of the door at the opposite end. He was trapped in the car. Just as panic began to rise in his chest, the train emerged from the tunnel, and Ethan rushed to the window. Outside, an unfamiliar landscape rolled by. Not the urban cityscape he expected, but a moonlit countryside, dotted with strange, twisted trees. "This isn't my line," he whispered, pressing his face against the glass. "Where am I?" The train began to slow, and through the windows, Ethan could see they were approaching a station. Relief washed over him. He could get off, figure out where he was, and find his way home. The station that came into view was unlike any he had seen before. It was an old-fashioned building with a peaked roof and ornate ironwork, dimly lit by what appeared to be gas lamps. A sign came into view, but the name was in a script Ethan couldn't decipher. With a hiss and a squeal, the train came to a complete stop. After a moment, the doors slid open. Ethan hesitated, unsure whether to exit or stay on the train. What if this was the wrong stop? But then again, it clearly wasn't his regular line, so staying on the train might take him even further from home. Decision made, he stepped onto the platform. The moment his foot touched the ground, the doors slid shut behind him, and the train pulled away with unexpected speed, vanishing into the night. "Wait," Ethan called after it, but the train was gone, leaving him alone on the platform with only the soft hissing of the gas lamps for company. The station was deserted. No ticket booth, no staff, not even another passenger. Just Ethan and the night. He walked to the exit, passing beneath an archway inscribed with symbols that resembled letters but were like no alphabet he recognized. Outside the station, a cobblestone street stretched in both directions, lined with tall, narrow buildings. Gas street lamps cast pools of yellow light at regular intervals, but most windows were dark. The air had a peculiar scent, like smoke and flowers and something else he couldn't identify. Ethan pulled out his phone again, hoping for a signal, but the screen remained blank. The battery, which had been at 80% when he boarded the train, was now completely dead. "Hello?" he called out, his voice sounding small in the empty street. "Is anyone there?" To his surprise, a light appeared in a window across the street. A moment later, the door of the building opened, and a figure emerged, carrying a lantern. As the figure approached, Ethan saw it was an elderly man, wearing what looked like an old-fashioned station master's uniform, complete with a pocket watch on a chain and a cap with a shiny visor. "You're late," the old man said, his voice creaking like a rusty gate. "I'm sorry," Ethan replied, confused. "I think I'm on the wrong line. I was trying to get to Westbrook." The station master tilted his head. "Westbrook? Never heard of it. This is Terminus Station." "Terminus? That's not on my line. Look, I just need to know how to get back to the city." The old man's eyes, pale blue and watery, studied Ethan with curiosity. "The city? Which city do you mean, young man?" Ethan felt a surge of frustration. "Metropolitan city, the only city around here for 100 miles. "Ah," the station master nodded slowly. "I see the problem now. You've taken the night rail." "The night rail? What's that?" The old man sighed, gesturing for Ethan to follow him. "Come with me. You'll need help if you want to find your way back." Reluctantly, Ethan followed the station master back to the building he had emerged from. Above the door hung a weathered sign, "Terminus Inn." Inside, the inn was warmly lit by more gas lamps and a crackling fire in a stone hearth. A few patrons sat at scattered tables, all pausing their conversations to stare at Ethan as he entered. They were dressed in a mixture of styles from different eras, some in clothing that might have been from the Victorian era, others in garments that seemed futuristic. The station master led Ethan to an empty table in the corner. "Wait here," he instructed, before disappearing through a door behind the bar. Feeling conspicuous under the stares of the other patrons, Ethan sat down. A woman at the next table, dressed in a 1920s flapper style, complete with a feathered headband, leaned toward him. "First time on the night rail?" she asked, her voice melodious with an accent he couldn't place. Ethan nodded. "I don't even know what that is. I was just trying to get home." She smiled sympathetically. "We all were, darling. The night rail only comes for those who are between places, not just physically, but in life. People at crossroads, making important decisions." Before Ethan could ask what she meant, the station master returned, accompanied by a tall woman with silver hair that seemed to float around her head like a cloud. She wore a long, flowing dress that shifted colors as she moved. "This is Madame Evelyn," the station master introduced her. "She can help explain your situation." Madame Evelyn sat down across from Ethan, her eyes, one amber, one violet, fixing him with an intense gaze. "You took the last train," she stated. "Yes, the midnight train. I was just trying to get home to Westbrook." She shook her head. "Not that train. The last train. The one that comes when you're at a crossroads in your life. It brought you here, to Terminus, because you need to make a choice." Ethan laughed nervously. "Look, I appreciate the mysterious atmosphere you've got going here, but I just need directions to get home." "To get home," Madame Evelyn said patiently, "you must first complete the journey. The night rail brought you here for a reason. You must discover what that reason is before you can return." "This is ridiculous," Ethan muttered. "I'll find my own way back." He stood up to leave. "The next train won't come until you're ready," the station master called after him. "And without a ticket, you'll just end up somewhere else you don't want to be." Ethan paused at the door. "What do you mean, ready? Ready for what?" Madame Evelyn joined him by the door. "Ready to face the choice before you. Ready to decide which path your life will take next." Ethan was about to argue further when the door to the inn burst open and a young woman rushed in, her face flushed with excitement. "The market is opening," she announced to the room. "The midnight market is opening early tonight." The other patrons immediately stood, gathering coats and hats. The flapper woman passed by Ethan with a wink. You should come along, darling. The market only opens when something important is about to happen. With no better options, Ethan followed the crowd out of the inn and down the cobblestone street. They turned into a narrower alley that twisted and curved between tall buildings. The alley should have ended in a few dozen yards, but it kept going. The buildings on either side growing taller and closer together until they nearly blocked out the night sky. Finally, the alley opened into a large circular plaza. Ethan gasped at the sight before him. The market was like no market he had ever seen. Dozens of stalls and tents in every color imaginable formed concentric circles around a central fountain that sprayed water upward in dancing patterns. Each droplet of water glowed with an inner light, casting rainbow reflections on the surrounding buildings. The vendors called out in various languages, offering wares that defied description. One stall displayed bottles containing what appeared to be miniature storms, complete with lightning. Another offered mirrors that showed reflections of places rather than people. A third vendor had laid out a collection of books whose titles changed every time Ethan tried to read them. Madame Evelyn appeared at his side. The midnight market appears whenever a traveler needs to find something. Perhaps what you seek is here. I'm not seeking anything except a way home, Ethan insisted. Are you certain? She asked. Think carefully. Before you boarded the train, what was on your mind? What decision were you struggling with? Ethan opened his mouth to deny any struggle, but then closed it again. The truth was, his life had felt stuck for months. His job at the marketing firm had once been exciting, but lately it had become a monotonous grind. His relationship with his girlfriend, Lisa, had grown distant, both of them too busy with their careers to nurture their connection. Just that morning, he had received a job offer from a startup company, a risky move that would mean less security but more creative freedom. I guess I have been at a crossroads, he admitted reluctantly. Madame Evelyn nodded. The night rail knows. That's why it brought you here. Now, explore the market. Find what you need. Uncertain but curious, Ethan began to wander among the stalls. Each vendor watched him with knowing eyes, but none approached him directly. He paused at a stall selling what appeared to be ordinary household items: clocks, keys, mirrors. But each had a small tag with a name written on it. The vendor, an ancient woman with eyes as black as midnight, smiled at him. You won't find your name here, traveler. These belong to others. Yours is elsewhere. Moving on, Ethan found himself drawn to a tent made of fabric that seemed to be woven from starlight. Inside, a man with features that shifted and changed as Ethan watched sat behind a table covered with small wooden boxes. Ah, The newest traveler, the man said, his voice sounding like multiple people speaking in unison. Come to find your path, have you? I'm just trying to get home, Ethan replied, the phrase becoming a mantra. Home is more than a place, the vendor replied. It's a state of being. Show me your hands. Without thinking, Ethan extended his hands. The vendor examined them carefully, tracing the lines on his palms with a finger that felt like a feather. Interesting, he murmured. You stand at the intersection of multiple paths. Rare to have so many possibilities at once. He reached beneath the table and produced a wooden box about the size of a deck of cards. This is for you. Ethan took the box cautiously. What is it? Open it when you're alone and ready to see the truth. Before Ethan could ask more questions, screams erupted from the other side of the market. People began running in all directions, and the stalls nearest to the disturbance hastily packed up their wares. What's happening? Ethan asked. But the shifting-faced vendor had already vanished, along with his tent. Through the chaos, Ethan saw a dark, swirling mass moving through the market. It wasn't smoke or fog, but something else, a living shadow that consumed the light around it. Where it passed, the vibrant colors of the market faded to gray. The void, someone shouted. The void has found the market. Madame Evelyn appeared beside Ethan, grabbing his arm. We must go, now. What is that thing? Ethan asked as she pulled him away from the approaching darkness. It's the void, the emptiness that comes when someone refuses to choose a path. It consumes possibilities. Her eyes fixed on the box in his hands. You found your token. Good. We must get you somewhere safe to examine it. They ran through the rapidly emptying market, the swirling darkness gaining on them. Ethan could feel its coldness at his back, like the absence of hope. As they reached the alley that led back to the main street, he glanced back and saw the shadow engulfing the fountain, its dancing waters freezing in mid-air before shattering like glass. Madame Evelyn led him through a maze of streets and alleys, each turn taking them further from the pursuing darkness. Finally, they ducked through a low doorway into what appeared to be a small chapel. Inside, candles lined the walls, their flames burning in unnatural colors: blue, purple, green. We should be safe here for a time, Madame Evelyn said, catching her breath. The void cannot enter places of pure intention. Ethan collapsed onto a bench, clutching the wooden box. What was that thing? And why is it after me? The void is drawn to those who resist their journey. It feeds on indecision and fear. She nodded toward the box. That may help you understand what choice you need to make. With trembling fingers, Ethan opened the box. Inside lay what appeared to be an ordinary compass, its needle spinning wildly. A compass? He asked, disappointed. How is this supposed to help me? It's not just any compass, Madame Evelyn explained. It points toward your true desire, what you really want, beneath all the fears and doubts. Ethan lifted the compass from the box. the moment it touched his palm, the needle stopped spinning and pointed firmly to his right, directly at the chapel's wall. "What's that way?" he asked. "That depends on what you're seeking," Madame Evelyn replied. "The compass doesn't point to a place, but to a choice. What decision have you been avoiding, Ethan?" He thought about the job offer, about Lisa, about the growing emptiness he'd felt in his daily routine. "I've been offered a new job," he said slowly. "It's a risk, but it's doing work I believe in. And Lisa, I've been thinking of asking her to marry me, but I've been afraid of making the wrong choice, of disrupting the stability we have." Madame Evelyn nodded. The greatest journeys often require a leap of faith. But remember, not choosing is itself a choice, and often the most dangerous one. A sudden chill filled the chapel, and the candle flames dimmed. Outside, a low moaning sound could be heard, like wind through an empty canyon. "The void approaches," Madame Evelyn whispered. "It's drawn to your uncertainty. You must decide, Ethan. Look at the compass. What does your heart truly want?" Ethan stared at the compass, its needle unwavering. In his mind, he saw images of what his life could be: taking the new job, proposing to Lisa, building a life based on passion rather than security. The thought both terrified and exhilarated him. "I want to take the chance," he said, his voice growing stronger. "I want to stop playing it safe and really live." As he spoke, the compass began to glow with a warm, golden light that spread up his arm and throughout his body. Outside, the moaning of the void grew louder, more insistent. "Your decision has been made," Madame Evelyn said with a smile. "Now you must return and act on it. The next train will take you home." "But how do I get back to the station? That thing is out there." "The void cannot touch you now, not when you've chosen your path. But you must hurry. The night rail waits for no one." Taking a deep breath, Ethan pocketed the compass and opened the chapel door. Outside, the streets were eerily empty, and at the end of the road, he could see the swirling darkness advancing slowly toward them. "Go," Madame Evelyn urged him. "Follow the compass. It will lead you to the station." Ethan stepped outside, the compass warm in his pocket. He could feel it pulling him to the right, down a narrow street he hadn't noticed before. Without looking back, he began to run, following the compass's guidance through the labyrinthine streets of the strange town. Behind him, he could hear the void pursuing, but it seemed unable to match his pace now. Each turn led him closer to his destination, and with each step, he felt more certain of his decision. Finally, he rounded a corner and saw Terminus Station ahead, its gas lamps burning brightly against the night. And there, at the platform, waited a train, different from the one that had brought him, older and more ornate, with brass fittings and large windows glowing with warm light. Standing by the open door of the first car was the station master, checking his pocket watch. "Right on time," the old man said as Ethan approached, breathless from his run. "The Midnight Express waits for you." "This will take me home?" Ethan asked, glancing back at the advancing darkness. "It will take you where you need to go," the station master replied. "Once you have chosen your path, the destination becomes clear." The ground trembled as the void drew nearer. The station master gestured urgently to the train. "Hurry now. Some decisions can't wait." Ethan climbed aboard, finding this train as empty as the first. As soon as he was inside, the doors closed and the train began to move, slowly at first, then with increasing speed. Through the window, Ethan watched Terminus Station recede into the distance. The last thing he saw before the train entered a tunnel was the void reaching the platform, its darkness spreading like spilled ink. Inside the car, Ethan took out the compass. Its needle now spun freely again, as if its purpose had been fulfilled. As he watched, the compass began to dissolve, turning to golden dust that slipped through his fingers and vanished. The train rocketed through darkness, its motion smooth and silent. Ethan felt his eyelids growing heavy, and despite his intention to stay awake, he soon drifted into a deep sleep. He dreamed of paths branching endlessly before him, of doors opening and closing, of Lisa smiling as he told her about his new job and presented her with a ring. When Ethan opened his eyes, sunlight was streaming through the windows of the train. He sat up with a start, momentarily disoriented. The car around him was the familiar interior of the Metropolitan City subway. An automated voice announced, "Approaching Westbrook Station. Westbrook Station is next." Checking his watch, Ethan was shocked to see it was 7:30 a.m. Had he really slept on the train all night? His phone buzzed in his pocket, fully charged and showing several missed calls from Lisa. As the train pulled into Westbrook Station, Ethan tried to make sense of his experience. Had it all been a dream? The compass was gone, but he could still feel a lingering warmth in his palm where it had rested. The doors opened, and Ethan stepped onto the familiar platform of his home station. Everything was normal. Commuters rushing to work, the smell of coffee from the station cafe, the morning sunlight creating long shadows. Yet Ethan himself felt changed. The decision he had made in that strange place, or in his dream, felt real and binding. He pulled out his phone and dialed. "Hello, Mr. Winters? This is Ethan Mitchell. About that job offer, I'd like to accept." After hanging up, he called Lisa. "Hey, it's me. Sorry about not coming home last night. It's a long story, but listen. I was wondering if you'd meet me for dinner tonight. There's something important I want to ask you." As he walked out of the station into the morning light, Ethan noticed something odd about his shadow on the pavement. For just a moment, it seemed to take the shape of a train, racing toward an unknown destination. Then it was just his shadow again, stretching before him like the path ahead. With a smile, Ethan stepped forward, ready to follow where it led.